Sorry for the attire. I have to rush out and do a proper scientific presentation afterwards. But I still got invited to Ignite because I love mushrooms, and like all mushrooms, I'm just a really fun guy. Okay, I'm very dry in German, so if you don't understand anything, fine. All right, so I'm just going to start on this. Right. Oh, hang on, that wasn't the first. Right. I got a phone call that, like usual, a big warehouse in an office, we have some mold. What is happening here? We could quickly go in there and assess it, and I thought, wow, that's over. So what has happened is, this particular company gets lots and lots of pallets which come from containers. And obviously those container pallets every now and then seem to get moldy. And what we had to do is to actually find out where does it come from. So we looked at the container, and the container itself looked really awesome. But the product in the container and the actual pallet was really moldy, and that didn't make any sense. Now the problem is this warehouse was very close to where the people work, and they complained that they have symptoms. So we looked at containers and thought, where do they actually come from? What can happen on the way when we go there? We had lots of special tools to actually identify the mold. So we used our LED torches, and we went in there and we really looked deep. And the owner were not very happy because they thought that they every now and then had a pallet. When we looked at the container actually didn't show any sign of condensation or other things, but obviously that stuff somewhere had to get moldy. We then tried to pull stuff out, and we looked at the pallets, and that fairy stuff there is the way how they looked, and it's actually a lot of exposure. And it wasn't just the pallet, it was actually the product that sits on top that also got moldy. And this company happens to be after flood remediation, giving people new flooring, and you really don't want the additional fairy floss effect on it. So they asked us, guys, get in there, find out what the problem is, because this is costing us a lot of money. So we went in with our high-tech equipment, started to actually do proper mold assessment. Lucky we could clear the offices so people weren't at a problem. But in the warehouse itself, it was exorbitant high. Everything was completely covered in penicillin, so unfortunately we had to close that. But then we had to look how big is the problem and what can we do to stop this problem. So we first had to assess how far had it actually spread in the house. We did all this is pallets, so we marked and we could see it's actually all over. Now, then we got asked, so what can we do? We have now everywhere moldy pallets. Right then, we get a phone call and they say, oh, by the way, we have all over the world warehouses, and all of them suddenly have moldy pallets. So that tiny little job where I quoted something like 6,000 on ended up in a $6 million job because I didn't get asked to say, right, where does all this stuff come from? Can you just get ready and measure and find out what the problem is, because we now lodged that with our insurance. So many, many millions of containers have actually the same problem. So I packed very lightly my luggage to then embark on one of those journeys to find out what is happening at the supply end. The communication, as in a lack of translation, was not that easy, so I had to actually go on site and take the ocean route and do some measurements on my own if there is, for example, any condensation in the actual containers. Now what we found out is there was nothing wrong with the product, but there was lots of flooding. This is flooding, please use your imagination, yeah? So where actually those pallets were produced, that particular manufacturing plant was flooded, so the pallets where the product was loaded on was actually the cause of the mold. Again, another high-tech object then helped us to identify that we had hundreds of thousands of moldy pallets, which then we can stop, and we could then have new pallets repacked, nothing wrong with the containers, no condensation, it was all good. We could advise the client So we now have happy workers in the warehouse. They're a bit exhausted, but they could repack the entire thing. And that company could then lodge a claim. The claim got paid. They now looking much more at their supply sources, and they now can do what they're really good at, to supply us with beautiful flooring. And yeah, they keep the workers safe. We shaved them shitloads of money. We made shitloads of money, and we have lots of happy clients. Thank you.